Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Wine Time with Peggy show, featuring Peggy Fiandaca, who, along with her winemaker husband Kurt Lawrence Dunham, owns and operates LDV Winery in Arizona. Spring is here in Arizona anyway, and that's where we are. You know, it is the first Wednesday, so it is Wine Time with Peggy time. And today we're going to talk about brunch. We're going to talk about wine pairings for brunch because, you know, you can't have brunch without wine. And of course, we're always going to find out what's going on in the vineyard. And Peggy has a great recipe, the roasted vegetable and green chili frittatas. We're going to talk about that. And she's not doing a wine term this week or this month. She's doing fun facts on wine. I like this. We need to have fun. Spring feels energetic and fun, doesn't it?
That's right. I think so. I mean, it's definitely spring here. It's beautiful weather. I think we're the only place in the country we have beautiful weather in March right now.
Are you saying that just to mess with me right now while it's snowing where we are?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean,
Uh,
gotta come to Arizona in the springtime.
yeah,
It's
March is
perfect.
beautiful, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
it's heavenly. It's like the perfect time to be in Arizona.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Perfect.
And we have spring training baseball
Mhm.
starting and all March. And so pretty much, I can't remember how many teams have spring training down here, but it's a lot. So
Mm.
15, I think it's 15 different teams have spring training in Arizona. So great
Wow.
place to be. Yeah,
Well, Scottsdale is super busy this time of year, right? For your
absolutely.
tasting room. Is it busy? You get
Absolutely. This is high season for us, you bet.
mm.
It's fun.
And so how's Kurt doing over in the vineyard? I mean, is it there is greenery starting to poke out and say, I'm gonna start thinking of producing for you?
Well, that no, not quite yet, but we're a
Mm.
little nervous that we might see an early bud break this
Oh.
year because it has been so warm. We haven't had a lot of rain. We haven't had our mountain. It doesn't have snow on it right now,
Mm.
and it's been warmer than usual. So we are out there trying to finish up our winter pruning because we anticipate maybe bud break is about 3 weeks or the third week in March potentially,
Oh.
where typically it would be 1st of April or so. When we have an early bud break like we anticipate this year, it makes it a little nerve wracking because we can have a late frost and then our little buds will be exposed to that frost and it can hurt us. So we're continuing to watering because it's so warm and
Mm.
we're doing that winter pruning. Hopefully that will be finished here soon.
You got to
So
protect the babies because those will be grapes. Those
absolutely.
little buds will be grapes.
Absolutely. So yeah,
Mm.
it's an interesting year. Like all every year is an interesting year, but
Yeah,
this year
right. It
also.
is, but it's like, yeah, that's why you need to drink wine. You
Yeah,
know, it's like
exactly.
calm down, it'll be fine. Just have some wine. That's
Yeah, yeah. Cannot control Mother Nature.
oh,
Even though we try, we can't. Yeah.
talking about the weather, I want to remind people that you can still order wine. Do it now before it gets warmer because you have a cutoff period, like normally May, right? End of May, but
Right.
you never know with the weather. So, because you don't want wine, sweltering and popping corks, and that would be a waste of like that's disgusting. You don't spill wine, you don't have bad wine from heat, you take good care of this because this is why we do the show. Is
Right.
obviously you have amazing wine, but it's like I want people to understand how much goes into it. And like right now, that in little worry of early bud break and then maybe losing your buds, that is not cool. That I
No,
don't know how you guys do that without freaking out.
it well, there's a lot of freaking out going on, but
We won't talk about that. They'll just
we
drink
won't
wine
talk
after
about
this
that.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting about the shipping. We also, right now, we have to worry about the weather across the Midwest and the South and the East because it's snowing and it's cold.
Really?
So I,
Shocking. Yeah.
right. So I can't ship to places that are also experiencing that because that
Mm.
also impacts the quality of our wine. So
Oh.
we monitor that very closely And so if you do order wine, we'll take the order, but we want to make sure that we ship it at the optimum time, and
So
we
you
watch
so
that
when
weather.
shipping and the winery, you guys are like weather mongers. Like you're
Oh,
watching the I'm like that. I mean,
oh
today,
yeah,
I mean, we're getting covered in snow and it's not going to stop and I'm going to have to start driving and all of this stuff again. And I'm like, no, I planned everything to not be in it. And so that's your but you're having to do it like worse than us because you have like a vineyard, you
oh
know.
yeah. Yeah,
So
I mean, like I said, we try to control the weather, but which we can't. So we just watch
yeah.
it constantly. So not only are we watching the weather here in Arizona, but we're watching it all across the country because
Wow.
that impacts our ability to ship our wine to
Mm.
our customers who really need wine when they're at home and can't get out.
Wow, it's so wild because here we are in North Carolina right now. It's really snowing. Kansas just had it where we're going, and a friend I just recorded a podcast with, she's getting snow in Austin, Texas.
Yeah,
Go
crazy,
figure. Go
craziness.
figure.
Yeah.
So you got to watch. So that's something important to think about. And so now let's talk about these fun wine facts.
Okay.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
I love fun facts.
I'm going to test you a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So,
Why do I feel like I
how,
should have wine in my hand right now?
yeah, I will, I don't, none of these are easy. So so don't feel bad, but how many gallons of wine do you think are in a typical barrel, a wine barrel?
300.
60. 60
What?
gallons of wine in a barrel. That takes about 1,000 pounds of grapes to make 1 barrel of wine.
See,
Now,
I don't have any perspective of what a gallon looks like.
and I don't know how to
I'm
compare it.
African, man. I mean, I grew up
That's
in
right.
a different metric. I'm like you inch, centimeters, meters. I don't know any of it now. So that was like,
Okay.
so a gallon was so the big milk thing. That's a gallon.
Yeah, that's a
So
gallon.
only
A big,
60 of those.
right. 60 gallons of wine in a barrel. So, how many cases do you think are in um, a barrel? Cases of wine, there's 12 bottles per case.
What is this? An
Throw
IQ
out a
test?
number. Yeah, throw
Oh
out a
my
number. What
gosh!
do
You
you
should have
think?
told me to have wine in hand. Really? Okay. So there's 12 in a case. Okay. Okay. So I would say 20.
Close. Good job. 25 cases of wine
Oh, that was pretty
we can
close. Yeah.
make out of a barrel, and that's about 300 bottles of wine out of 1 barrel. So
Wow.
there's quite a lot. So about a ton of grapes in 2 barrels.
Oh,
Um,
but this gives people perspective of
right.
wow. So like if the buds don't, you want those buds to make it.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone I think has an idea of what a wine barrel looks like in terms of the size. So to make about 50 cases of wine, I need about 120 gallons of juice to make those 50 cases of wine.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
it takes about 600 bottles are needed for 2,000 pounds of grapes. So each bottle will need about 3 pounds of grapes. So when you look at that bottle of wine, 3 pounds, well, 3.3 pounds of grapes are in that bottle of
What
wine.
would that look like in a cluster mode? Like
A
if you're buying
cluster,
grapes at the grocery store,
about, a
a
big
decent
cluster.
cluster.
Yep. Uh-huh. Because there's some weight to it. A pretty decent cluster would make a bottle of wine. So
Wow. I'm never going to look at wine the same again.
no. And another kind of fun fact related to our vineyard, 1 acre of LDV vineyard
Hmm.
land is a mile of vines. So if you
Wow.
walk, yeah, so that's a lot of vines in that. in that
So
area.
what would that typically produce in regards to grapes?
Well, we have, we have the 13 acres of vines, and that produces about 2,500 to 3,000 cases of wine.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's just some fun facts we get asked about, how many grapes in a barrel and all that kind of stuff. And so you can be the smartest person at the cocktail party now with some fun facts.
You still need to have a glass of wine in your hand for this. Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Wow. So but it's amazing to think about it. And I think then, because my whole point is always to have that sense of value of understanding how much work goes
Right,
into it, what the land does, all of it. I mean, that goes
yeah,
into making that bottle,
right,
how much
right.
energy goes in, you know?
Maybe an upcoming session, we'll talk about our pricing. How do you, what it
Yes.
costs to make a bottle of wine or to produce, and then how do we set the pricing based on that? It's always interesting. So yeah, we'll have to
Mm.
save that for another time.
Oh, we like that because people are always going, why is this so expensive versus this one?
Correct.
And I'm like, well,
Right.
it depends on the size and
Right.
organic, oh, and is it vegan?
Right.
Does that affect the
Exactly.
price?
And if it's our labels, what kind of label that we have, and some of our wines have a really high priced, really nice raised printing label that costs
Uh-huh.
money. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
know that
so
side. That's my side of the industry. And yeah, I
yeah,
know that. That's expensive. And when you feel it, it's like, oh, that's really nice. But now you need to understand the value of that. But then it's art. See,
correct.
I think
It's
what you
art.
you and
Yeah,
Kurt do and everyone that works with you is you are creating drinkable art.
right. And we always have this debate amongst ourselves. Um, do people recognize the value of that? Is
Mm,
that important to them? And we love art, and we feel it's important to invest in
mhm,
the higher quality look
mhm,
and feel of our labels, for example.
mhm,
So our labels are not going to, when they get wet, because they get moisture sitting in the refrigerator, they're not going to shrivel and come off, because it's a
mm,
higher quality label, and it's the printing that we use. So we feel
mm,
those decisions are important, but maybe
mhm,
not everyone does. And
mm. Each to their own. And to me, it's about the whole package, right? And so
correct.
with speaking of labels, it's a good time to remind people about your logo because I love your logo.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it took a lot of, it means a lot to us, our logo, which is, I wish I had something to show you with our logo on it, but it is, our three circles that
Hmm.
are connected. And it's our connection to our land, our connection to our people, and connection to the history of the region, and everything that we do. Our tagline is Earth's fruits come full circle. It's very important to us. Yeah,
I love that. I love that. It's about having respect, So you have
correct.
respect for the land and respect for, yeah, it's respect. So
Yeah.
and that's why we must drink respectfully and responsibly.
Yes. Yes,
Do
exactly.
not
And
spill your wine.
yeah, and we're excited that we have a couple new wines coming out in March. So
Ooh.
people can look forward to our 2023 Rhyolite Rosé, another
Mm,
beautiful rosé um, that is made from our Grenache. And so that will be hitting the market later in late March, probably,
oh, nice.
because we roll it out to our wine club members first. And then we have a Syrah coming out, a 2018 Syrah. I
Oh.
know you will love this one. And it's not 100% Syrah. It has a little bit of Grenache, which really, we
Ooh, that's gonna be
tried.
nice.
Yeah, it has just a little bit of Grenache. It adds some, uh, just rounds out the flavors of that Syrah beautifully. So I'm excited about those two wines that are going to be rolled out to our wine club members late March, and hopefully to the marketplace soon after that. Yeah.
So everyone, if you go to ldbwinery.com, which is in the episode notes, click on there and sign up for the newsletter And then also follow on social media, especially Facebook. And that will be a good way to watch out for these wines coming out and all the different events you guys do at the tasting room. And yeah, it's cool. And then Kurt does video tips. And so it's a good way. And to keep up with the podcast too, is to just go to ldvwinery.com. So now we're going to talk. The wine of the month is Viognier. That's because we're getting into to like some not summary, but spring. Listen, spring in Arizona is like summer where I am right now.
Right, 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 right. Well, Viognier is just such a wonderful grape. Um, Typically, it's from the Rhone Valley of France historically, and I think it was like the 1960s. It was basically almost extinct, and they started planting it in California and in other places in the U.S., and it's become a lot more available.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, it loves Arizona. It loves the high altitude and the heat that we
Mm-hmm.
have. And we produce, that's our only white grape that we produce. And it is, we make it different styles. And I think what's great about Viognier is that it picks up, I think, the nuances of place or the
Mm-hmm.
terroir so that you can get it in New York and it tastes very different, the Viognier from that area compared to our Viognier in Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
because it really is, it respects the place and picks up those nuances. So we actually produce a Viognier that we age in stainless steel that is, in my opinion, reminiscent of like a Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand. It, you know,
Mm.
it,
Yeah,
or, it picks up that steel, um, you know,
refreshing.
very refreshing
It's just
Viognier.
super cool, y'all.
Yeah, it is super cool. I like
It
that.
is. Your Viognier is so good. I mean, because you know how Nancy and I are always picky about white wines, and and we love your Viogniers, and doing that
Yeah,
one barrel tasting was so cool to watch the stages and taste the stage and see the final product. Last fall, and it's just it's fascinating. And now I wish like you've got to keep notes on everything
yeah,
with your tastings, to see how
right.
things change. But this is the thing about having true taste of place. You
Yes,
may have the
that's
same
exactly right.
varietal, but then what happens, because of, Arizona versus New York State, like you're saying, that's the cool thing about what you do.
Right. And so I would love to have, if you are a wine lover and you want to learn more about wine, and since March is the wine of the month is Viognier, during the month, try different Vigniers from different regions. Try a
Mm,
California Viognier that might be, on oak. Try
mm-hmm,
an Arizona Viognier that we make, our Sky Island, which is made in stainless steel, and try a New York Viognier or a Pennsylvania or wherever. Try them and taste the difference. It'd be beautiful if you try them side by side, because then you
mm-hmm.
really pick out the nuances. But
Well, this is a whole new way of road tripping.
yes,
You
exactly,
just go around
exactly.
the country and get all your wine, then sit down and do a massive tasting.
Yeah,
Well, that's
yeah,
what your friend Darla did,
yeah,
with all the wines and
exactly.
pairing wines from the state, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
cool.
try that with the vignette and see, you really see the difference
Mm,
of what the vignette does. And of course, as a white wine, it's a wonderful food pairing wine.
mm,
And we're going to talk a little bit about brunch and
mm,
foods for brunch. And vignette is a wonderful go-to wine for
mm-hmm.
a lot of different brunch meals.
Yeah, brunch is, oh man, have I had some interesting fun with brunch lately. I got dangerous in the South.
Oh,
Like when we were in Georgia, I started cooking everything with butter. I think I told you that. And I'm
yes.
like, physically needing to do some walking and exercises because I really got myself in trouble, but it was really good. So we've got butter and polenta. Have you ever cooked polenta for breakfast?
Oh,
Yeah.
no, but it would
Oh,
be, I would think, yummy because I like
mm,
risotto for breakfast also, so I'm sure
Oh,
I would love it.
yeah, we
Yeah.
took polenta and it comes in like it's or Melissa's delivery of goodness again. And because remember we did the pineapple cake
Yes.
with your yeah,
Yes.
we paired it, and I was talking about you on a recent podcast with them saying, well, this is what we did. We took polenta and they have a little bit of hatch chili in the
Oh,
polenta.
wow.
Okay, so this is where it is around the corner from you, so it's got that taste,
Yeah.
that southwestern taste. And we sliced it into rounds. Yes, we fried it in butter,
Of
right?
course you did.
With
Yes.
sausage. Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
awesome.
Shallots, red onions, mushrooms, garlic. Okay. So this is not, bring the garlic on. I don't care what
Beautiful.
it is. So this was
Beautiful.
just, wonderful. Now, the next day we tried this out again because we had, more, but you've got to eat golden crispy polenta. I'm telling you, it's a whole
Oh,
new
yeah.
thing. Once you get it to the almost golden crispy, they have honey that has jalapenos from Hatch, and so you put the honey on the polenta and fry
Oh,
that
my.
into it. Now, what would you pair wine? I think the Viognier would go or
Oh,
with
oh
this.
yeah.
Oh my
I would.
gosh.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think it would be lovely with it, and
Mm,
yeah, it would stand up to all those different flavors, particularly the
yeah.
the one that's aged in stainless steel.
Mm-hmm.
I think because there's a lot of fat to that, and yeah, I think it'd be
And
and
there's now a
spice
lot of fat to
because
me.
of the
I'm just saying.
spice.
It's all that butter and sausage. But yeah, but I
Oh,
know that's not necessarily brunch food what I'm cooking, but
uh-huh, uh-huh.
it was something new to try. But I would
Oh
cook
gosh,
it
yeah.
for friends. It was so good, But
Uh-huh.
now, when you're talking about wine for brunch foods, and your recipe sounds like my kind of recipe for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely, you got the spices in there. Um, what about rosés for brunch?
Oh, I think rosé could definitely go with certain brunch kind of categories. Uh, you know, a lot of people eat French toast or
Mm,
pancakes for brunch,
with
and
bacon.
I yeah, of course. And I think that because usually French toast it has vanilla and
Mm,
maybe there's some cinnamon flavors
mm,
there. Our go-to might be a demi-sec, slightly sweet sparkling wine or a German Riesling. But I
mm,
think our Sky Island Beignet would be a beautiful pairing with something like that. I think it
mm,
would stand up really well. But staying with the pancakes, a lot of
mm,
people do like a lemon ricotta pancake,
mm,
which
mm,
is absolutely
mm,
wonderful. And that's where I would maybe transition to a lighter red, maybe an oaky Pinot Noir
mm.
to go with that. But yeah,
Yeah, I
fun.
could see that. Well, the brunch, like you're saying, frittatas come out, baked goods come out. Now if it's hot weather, I have been known to have sangria. I'm
Oh,
just, I don't, well, it's, because I think everybody always goes, brunch is mimosas and that's that. And I'm here to say
no,
you can do that, but like it's not always Prosecco, Cava, or champagne. You can do other
right.
things. So,
Absolutely. So I think like if you have anything with your eggs, say you're having just fried eggs, but you have bacon or ham or sausage, something one of those meat with that eggs. You want to have something crisp and a lighter
mm,
beverage to cut through the saltiness
mm,
of it, the smokiness and maybe those fatty flavors. And so, maybe a Pinot Noir, maybe an oak Chardonnay would go. Um, but,
mm,
you're talking about your rosé. Eggs Benedict is a common
my
brunch,
favorite.
right? And you
Mm,
want to have that balance of the of something to stand up with that rich buttery egg. So
mm,
that's where you see a lot of times prosecco being served or a sparkling rosé, but your sangria might
mm,
be able to because the red fruit will
mm.
balance and the acidity of the red fruit would stand up to that butteriness and the richness of that.
And
Um,
we have fruit that's all served at brunch too. And it depends on
correct.
what time your brunch is. Sometimes brunch for me is at 7 o'clock at night,
Aha,
and that's okay with me. It
breakfast
to
for
me, it
dinner.
doesn't really matter about the time of day of what we're drinking at that time. I don't
Correct,
care. Um,
correct,
it's yeah, no, I've had, Harvey Wallbangers for breakfast, for look at Bloody Marys, all of that kind of thing. But
right.
your recipe, the roasted vegetable and green chili frittata, really
Oh,
brings us
yeah.
into some Southwest flavors because we've got chorizos and I love my chili killies for breakfast. That's my one of my
Yes,
like I've tried to make them and yeah, I'm
it's
not
comfort
quite
food.
there yet. I just a good and then with like salsa verde with it. Oh yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good comfort food,
Mm,
I think. Yeah, yummy. But the recipe, the roasted vegetables and green chili frittata, I think is beautiful with the vignette. I tried to pick a recipe that would be great with
mm,
our wine of the month, and this very easy to make. And though this recipe calls for red peppers and red onion, mushrooms, you whatever you got, whatever
I'm gonna put some black
vegetables.
olives in there, any excuse to have
Absolutely.
olives we're in.
Absolutely. And this recipe also uses Parmesan cheese, but maybe you don't have Parmesan and Gruyere cheese. So you want a
Oh.
melty kind of cheese, a
Mm,
melting cheese. I love Gruyere, but there are other melting kinds of cheeses that you might choose, or if you just have cheddar, use that. I think one of the keys is it says roasted vegetables. So roast your vegetables. I think it brings out a
mm,
different flavor that I think it would be great for this particular dish. And the chilies, you can use green chilies, Anaheim chilies, poblano
mm,
chilies. Depends on what kind of spice level that you want.
mm-hmm.
And
And
if
those
you have
roasted and charred are really good when you do the peppers that way.
correct,
Mm,
which is what I would hope people would do, but granted, not everyone has the time to peel the peppers, the skins off the peppers after they're roasted, and they might just use canned. That's okay. Do do whatever you can, and but this is a fun recipe, great with wine, a Sauvignon Blanc, or a medium-bodied red would be beautiful with this
mm,
dish,
mm.
and have fun with
Would you
it.
put chorizo in there? Like,
Yeah, I this one I didn't make with I didn't have any sausage or anything, but yes, chorizo would be
we
wonderful in
ate
this.
it for you.
Yeah, Italian sausage would be
Ooh,
wonderful in this,
and Dewey. Ooh,
and Dewey sausage would be
oh yeah.
wonderful, or bacon would be great. So yeah, if you wanted to put some meat into this dish, absolutely, or ham,
Hmm.
cut up ham.
Mushrooms are so good too because if you don't have a meat, they're like the perfect meat. They have that
I
chew,
agree.
like portobellos. I love getting those little baby portobellos, those little ones.
Yeah,
And I we eat a lot of those because I'll cook that for dinner, just like here. Here's your
yeah.
mushrooms on a plate.
I agree with you. I love all kinds of mushrooms. And you could use dried mushrooms, rehydrated dried mushrooms in this dish also. Some shiitakes or any,
We cook with those. Yeah,
yeah, or
we have.
porcinis, whatever mushrooms will add a different kind of flavor, but it'll stand up to this dish
Mm.
because there's just a lot of flavor in this dish.
Oh
And it's
man, and
perfect for
uh,
brunch.
yeah, because you can do it ahead of time.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Frittatas and quiches, which are all in the pie category, by the way, people.
Yeah.
Listen, we'll never get away from pie, but
Yeah.
all of that really does add into, just have stuff done. So if you're the host of the brunch, you don't want to be
Correct.
sitting there stressed out, and you just want to put it in the oven, pour yourself a glass of
Right.
wine, and get on with
Right.
it. What would you serve if you were going to put some fruit on the side for this? Because
On the
to me,
side,
then you have to balance the wine. Like the fruit should be the last thing because you want to balance what the dish is and the wine. Like
right.
that's the thing.
Um, you could easily do, a medley of a citrus with on the side. Some tangerine, chopped up
Ooh.
tangerine and some
Mm,
grapefruit. Maybe put some mint in that, I think would be really great. Maybe toss a few raspberries in that little medley
mm,
of fruit on the side. I think I would,
ooh.
because I think you'd want because it is a little spicy, depending on how
Hmm.
spicy you make the dish. You want something sweet and a little tart, I think, would go well with that.
That's right, man. Well, I'm hungry now.
Yeah, yeah,
I'd like brunch. This is a dangerous,
yeah.
dangerous podcast.
I mean,
Always.
everyone goes to Bloody Marys for brunch. I think, get out of and now they make those crazy Bloody Marys that are filled with
20,000
hamburgers
pickle
and
thing. Yeah.
yes, I mean, it's
It's like,
unbelievable. Crazy.
yeah, it's
I,
fun. We've done some shows on that and it's fun, but to me, just give me my Bloody Mary. I don't need to
right,
eat the farm to get
right.
to my juice. I want my
I want
juice.
my drink and then I want my breakfast. I don't
Yeah,
want
put
it all in my drink,
I don't need celery, pepperoncinis, and then crawfish and like
No,
20,000 things, and you can't get to sip your drink. And then by the time you get there, it's all warm and
right.
bitsyfied. I don't want the
Yeah,
bitsies. No, I want
no,
the
no.
olives. I want the
Right.
celery, and that's it. A
That's it.
pickle, maybe a
I
pickle.
agree with you. I agree with you. I and my hot sauce. So I wanted those spicy Bloody Mary. But some tips when you're thinking about pairing with brunch or with breakfast your wine, because eggs are kind of difficult to pair
Mhm,
with. That's why sparkling wines and brut, they're kind of the go-to, or prosecco, they're the go-to
mhm,
for breakfast. But the Viognier or a Sauvignon Blanc that's unoaked are beautiful with breakfast. You want to stay away from wines that are high tannins or
mhm.
heavy oaked. So, we love our Petit Syrah, but those Petit Syrah or Cabernet they're high tannic wines. They're big and
Heavy
bold.
too.
Save them for dinner with your
Mhm.
steak or with your heavier foods. That's where those
Yeah, you'll
belong.
fall asleep if you do that in the morning. You will,
Yeah.
but the other thing is, I wanted to ask about crepes because
Yeah.
crepes are so versatile. You can do crepes, savory crepes with mushrooms and hollandaise sauce and asparagus and all of
Right.
that. Or you can
Right.
do the sweet with the fruit and even chocolate sauces like a brunch dessert. So that's another, it's kind of like they're the vehicle of whatever you're stuffing in them, right? Or putting on top.
Right. And it's like my tips related to pairing in general when it comes to that. So sweet dishes, you want your wine to be the same level of sweetness
Hmm.
or a tad bit sweeter, but not heavily. So think
Hmm.
about if you're doing a sweet crepe, that you want a wine that might be equal or a little bit sweeter to it. Or you don't ever want the flavors of your wine to overpower the food, um,
Or vice
because
versa.
or vice
Dude,
versa,
the wine is
because
more important. Sorry.
yeah. Otherwise, then one of them is going to fall flat.
Mm,
Either the food is not going to taste as well, or the wine is not going to really be well. And then, when you're thinking about like your crepe or your omelet or your quiche is very rich in flavors. You want wines that are higher in acidity that help cleanse the palate in between your
mm,
bites,
mm.
from the cheese or the richness of whatever you have
Yeah, omelets can
in.
get pretty rich
Right,
depending on what they're
right,
putting in there, especially with the cheeses and a
right.
hollandaise sauce, like the eggs Benedict too, can get a little.
Eggs.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Eggs Benedict. That's why they put a rosé, a sparkling rosé would be
Oh,
awesome, or a Prosecco because it can cut through that. A
mm.
lot of times now, you're in the South right now, but chicken and waffles are a
I was gonna
popular.
bring that up. I mean,
Yeah.
that's sweet and spicy. And in South Africa, we put ice cream on our waffles for breakfast.
Oh goodness. Well, a lot of people put heavy cream on it, so same difference with ice cream, I would
Hmm.
guess. So you want a wine that is crisp and high in acid when you're serving a dish like that. Um, Champagne again is served
Hmm.
a lot of times, and that's good because I think the bubbles help cleanse the palate after each bite of that
Mm.
crisp fried chicken, and you know, the waffles are sweet. So I
Mm.
think that can navigate, or again, the beignet is a good way to
Chicken and
enjoy that.
waffles and vignette sound perfect to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, and I don't care what time of day, like just bring it all on. Let's do it. Let's just, you
And
know.
one other one I was thinking of is that a lot of people have smoked salmon and
Oh, yeah.
bagels for brunch or for breakfast. And that's a tricky one because you have typically capers on it, cream cheese, and red onion on that, you know, bagel
Mm,
sandwich. And so you need a wine with some acidity to
mm,
complement that saltiness of the fish and the smokiness of the fish, but you don't want to overpower it. So again, a Sauvignon Blanc would be beautiful with that. Our Sky
mm.
Island Beignet would be a
Your
beautiful
vignette would
pairing
be
with
good
that.
from what I would think.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So it's a fun, you know, it's a fun way to play around with different wines, invite some friends over brunch. It's a less expensive kind of way to entertain, I
mm-hmm.
think, and a lot of fun to serve, and a
Yeah.
lot of dishes you can do ahead. So it's
Yeah.
not a big deal. I guess egg prices are high right now, so you
Yeah,
might
it
need
depends
to
on
take
where you
that.
go.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's been interesting as that's traveling the country, right? And seeing prices like one neighborhood versus another neighborhood, even if it's the same store brand,
Uh-huh.
so I've found in some places like the store brand is more expensive than the
Interesting.
main egg brand. And then I found like eggs being completely pathetic, like the
Mm.
shell breaking. So like
Ah,
you touch it and it breaks. They're like really thin. So that's been
okay.
interesting. And we go through phases where we don't eat eggs for like weeks and then all of a sudden we'll
Uh-huh.
eat eggs. Like we're not
Right.
like, you know, all the time. And I suppose the cardiologist on our show likes that we don't overdo
Yeah.
the eggs, but like if she saw the polenta and the sausage and the eggs, yeah, yeah, maybe get a little
Yeah.
trouble. But I think, the eggs, it's not the end of the world. I think
Right.
it's different for families, but if you're entertaining brunch, um, don't feed granola.
Right.
But you could have baked
Oh,
oatmeal, baked oatmeal, because
absolutely.
I'm not a oatmeal person, and I'd rather eat it raw. Um, I don't the oatmeal creaminess thing gets me. That's me personally, but we were at a bed and breakfast that did baked oatmeal, and I was like,
Mm,
okay, I can do this because this is almost like a
right.
cake, you
Yeah,
know.
it's more it's drier.
Hmm.
And I guess the thing pairing it with wine is think about the sweetness. Are you putting cinnamon or vanilla, and what are you
Hmm.
putting on it? Or what was it made with? Are you
Mm.
putting fruit on it? So take that into consideration as a red fruit, dark fruit.
Mm.
Um, I make a homemade granola. I think I've included that
Yeah,
recipe
yeah.
in the
Now
past.
I'll eat that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's beautiful with wine.
Now,
Yeah.
okay. So we've done so much in bed and breakfast and brunch. Like I could talk about brunch recipes. Like one lady did apple roses, which she used
Mm,
dough and she made like these beautiful roses, a lot of
wow.
cinnamon, absolutely delicious. And she'll serve you brownies at breakfast, and I'm like, yeah, bring it.
Yeah,
My kind
love
of
it.
person. But one bed and breakfast, man, he's an incredible chef, and people do French bread all different. I mean, we could write a book on
Mhm.
not French bread, French toast. But
Uh-huh.
he did, and I think I've talked about him before because we still just couldn't get over the bacon. But he did bellinis at breakfast, and he
Mm,
did peach
yum.
and pear bellinis. And I was wondering, and he did the bacon, candied bacon in Old Bay seasoning, and
Mm.
thick pieces, and it would come in this nice, beautiful glass, and everybody's just like, leave me alone, I got my bacon. It's
Yeah,
like there's no shame in it. It's like, here, enjoy the bacon. Um but his pairings were really good in regards to salt, sweet, savory, all of that. But the Bellini thing, I was wondering about this because everyone's always using bubbly for mimosas. What about
right.
using wine and fruit juice? For some people may want that balance and maybe not have a full glass of wine. Is that possible to make wine cocktails?
Yes.
I mean, I'm worried about that personally. I just like my wine, but like,
Right, right. Absolutely. I mean, I want to say it's South American or can't remember, and I can't remember the name of it, but it is a wine with Coke, Pepsi, and it's a cocktail that they make, and it's very popular.
so they do spritzers in England and South Africa,
Correct,
spritzers like Sprite and wine.
correct, correct. So yeah, no, it's possible. Absolutely, it's
Well,
possible.
the mimosas are okay, but like people do like this little bit of champagne and then this much orange juice, which is
Right,
wrong.
right,
That's just,
right,
it should be, I want to taste. The thing is, like soda's going to take away the taste of the wine. So what's the point
right.
to
Well,
me?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with
It's
you. I
my
mean,
opinion. Like it's an opinion, so everyone can yell at
drink
me
a
later. But
soda. Yeah.
yeah, don't. It's like having different flavored coffee that doesn't taste like coffee anymore. I
Right.
don't mind if it tastes good, it tastes good, right? But I don't know.
I
I
agree with
wonder,
you.
some people may want, like you could put like a light juice. Like what are you gonna do? Grape juice. The first thing was like you could put grape juice with wine.
So, for example, the big movement in the wine industry is the de-alcohol,
Oh
removing the
yeah.
alcohol out of the wine. But it's like, well, then call it juice. You know,
Yeah.
if you're taking the alcohol out of it, which I'm not certain how they do that, but you're basically drinking grape juice then. So call
With
it
yeast.
juice. Yeah, with yeast. I don't get it. I'm not certain about it. But it is definitely occurring. And whatever, there's
Hey,
always
each to their
changing
own.
trends.
Whatever you
Yeah,
like. I like to
yeah,
taste the wine and understand like what you're saying. So it goes back to the Viognier and tasting Arizona Viognier versus New York or Pennsylvania Viognier.
right,
That's, you can't do that if it's mixed with Coke or, the Bellini. It's like you're adding some bubbles. Like honestly, you could probably just put Sprite in the Bellini. I'm not trying to be rude. Did I get in
right,
trouble for
right.
that? I,
No, no,
I just,
no,
yeah.
exactly. Exactly. And
Mm.
everything in moderation. So if
Hmm.
people are, choosing to watch their alcohol intake, I get it. And so don't drink the whole bottle. Have a glass.
And call Lisa because
Yeah.
I will. I'll
Yep.
take care of it for you. But
And just
yeah,
do everything in moderation, or choose a wine like ours that's zero residual sugar, because a lot of people are worried about drinking wine because of the calories in it. Well, ours are zero residual sugar, gluten free, vegan, no
and
additives,
delicious.
and still really good. So,
Really, really good. Yeah, I mean it's, yeah, yeah. I just find it interesting because I think you can um create things with wine that will taste good and still reflect the wine. There's a
correct.
mixology to it, like
Right.
making a recipe, right? And cooking with wine and knowing what wine will go in the dish. I think we can
Right.
do it. Like at the bed and breakfast, our friends at the Lion and the Rose, they take beer and there's specific beer that goes with orange juice, but you only do a certain little bit of orange juice, otherwise it takes out the beer. And
Right.
so that's the interesting thing. But yeah,
Right.
fun,
No,
fun,
fun.
fun. All right. Well,
Absolutely.
Peggy, happy spring to you and Kurt and
Thank you.
everyone at LDV Winery. Everyone, it is Women's History Month, and Peggy all is making history in the wine world. So shout out to Peggy. Cheers to her. And don't mix your wine. I'm just kidding. I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. But ldvwinery.com is a place to go. And the link for Peggy's recipe is in the episode notes. Check it out. Thank you so much, Peggy. Always fun.
Thank you. Safe travels.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Wine Time with Peggy show. Keep up with LDV Winery at ldvwinery.com. Keep up with Big Blend Radio at bigblendradio.com.